Hey kids, I'm Chaplain Maldonado, and today I'm going to show you how to use construction paper, glue, and scissors to make an art project. Now the art project that I'm going to show you today is going to look like this. So when you're done, this is what we're all going to have, or something similar. You'll get to choose different colors. But the main idea is going to be 4 squares, different colors, and then we're going to have circles within circles called concentric circles. So the artist that we're going to be learning about today was Wassily Kandinsky, and he was a Russian painter that was one of the leading painters in what is called abstract artwork. And abstract artwork, like our project today, the concentric circles, has to do more with the use of colors and shapes to create something. So this could be something decorative for the home that you can put on your wall. And again, the focus is not on it looking like, let's say, a tree or a house or a bird. It's on using shapes and color to create pattern and repetition, rhythm, movement. It's to enjoy the colors and the shapes that we create. So to begin, I'm going to go through the list of materials that you will need. So first of all, we need a piece of paper that we will be putting our artwork on. It could be something more professional that you can buy at a store, like a mixed media a thick kind of paper. So this is something I bought, and it's a little thicker than regular paper. Or you can use a regular sheet of 8.5 by 11, or you can go directly to using a piece of construction paper. So it's going to be up to you. Whatever you have accessible would be just fine. But for my presentation, I'm going to be using a mixed media thick paper that you can buy at a hobby store or an art store. So the next thing that you will need is a pencil. So the pencil will help for us to square off our areas and to draw circles for the concentric circles that we'll be using. You will also need a pair of scissors. So make sure to ask your mom and dad for a pair of scissors. There are different kinds you can use. These are some larger scissors. There's also some smaller ones that you can find that have a rounded end, so they're a lot safer, and when you're done with them, you can cover them. So these actually belong to my little boy Zechariah. You will also need some type of glue. I prefer the stick glue because it's easier to use. There's different sizes. Another cool thing about these is that when you apply it, it comes on purple, and then it disappears and becomes clear. So it's a good way to see what you glued and where you glued. Now if you want to be more advanced when it comes to making collages or a collage, you can also use X-Acto knives. But again, you have to be very careful with these. There's different kinds of X-Acto knives that you can find and use. But for our sake, you'll be fine with a pair of scissors. So you need your paper that you're going to put your work on. You also need your construction paper. So you can buy these in packs with multi-colors. And another alternative that you can have if you don't have colored paper, but perhaps you have newspaper or white paper at home and paint, is you can actually make your own colored paper. So you can take something like a newspaper and paint over it with acrylics or temperas or even crayons. And once you have that section, for the sake of our project, you can cut out a circle of that. So that's something that you can do. So you can also take a white piece of paper and paint over it. So for that, it'll be a little more advanced. And you can look up how to use watercolors or acrylics, watered down acrylics, and you can take something like a color green and paint the section that you want big enough. And once you have painted it all up and you get the color that you want, you can let that paper dry and draw a circle over it and cut that out. So those are just different alternatives that you have. Now for the sake of this presentation, we're going to be using our white piece of paper, and we're going to be using construction paper. Alright guys, so we have our glue sticks ready. We have our scissors. And we're gonna start our project. So again, I decided to use a white piece of paper. And then on my example, I glued that piece of paper directly. I glued my rectangles, construction paper rectangles, on top of that piece of paper. I just kind of squared it off. I got one full sheet of paper and just kind of by eye, just put it so that it's squared off. And then I marked the corners. Just so it can guide me. And now I have all the four corners. And the next thing I did was I got some sheets of construction paper and I folded them. So you get your construction paper so that I could have four rectangles that were exactly around the same size. So I just folded my paper twice and I ended up with this. So you can do it this way and have it directly on your construction paper if you don't have a larger sheet that you can put the projects on, or the pieces of the rectangles of construction paper on. So the next thing I did was I cut those. So since I had squared it off, I ended up with these papers that made rectangles. And then I just cut those out. Now in my case, I used an X-Acto knife, so it was a lot quicker and a lot cleaner, but you can use your scissors. So So if I wanted to, I could use a red, another red, and then maybe two black rectangles and glue them directly on my paper. Just like that. Or I could glue them on a piece of construction paper. And again, you can use any color you want to make those. You can cut out some out of yellow, or purple, or green, or blue. Now for my demonstration, I cut 4 rectangles, a black, a blue, a red, and a yellow. Did you know that the primary colors are blue, red, and yellow? Those are the primary colors, and when you mix 2 of those together, you'll get your secondary colors, which are the colors green, purple, and orange. So that's just one thing I wanted to share with you guys. Now when you're gluing your construction paper, it is very helpful to have a loose piece of paper and your glue stick, and the piece of paper that you're going to glue. So in this case, I'm going to start putting circles on my canvas. Now I want them to be large enough to almost fill that rectangle, but I don't want them to be too big. And then we're going to make some smaller ones and some smaller ones. So in this case, I cut out one already that was about a nice size that I liked. And now I'm going to glue it. Where should I do it? Should I glue it on the blue or the red? I think I'm going to go with blue. So I'm going to take my piece of paper that I'm going to glue on. I'm going to get my glue stick. In this case, I'm going to use the jumbo glue stick. And I'm going to put glue as close to the edge as I possibly can. And because the glue is colored, I'm able to see where I've applied glue. Now be generous so that we make sure that it sticks to the paper. So the reason I did this was so that if I accidentally went off, my glue got stuck on the piece of paper and not on my canvas and not on the artwork that I was creating, because then we may have some chunks of glue in places that we don't want, and we could accidentally stick things to it. So in this case, I went off, but it stayed on the white paper. And you can discard this or save it and just move to another section and keep gluing. So we're going to start off with the first circle. And there we go. And I want to keep cutting out circles that get smaller and smaller. And I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 circles in each of the rectangles, and they're going to be different colors. So now I'm going to go to a different color. So I need to cut out a circle that's a little bit smaller than this one. So that's why I have my pencil right here, and it's going to be just a little bit smaller. And the pencil is just for a guide. If you mess up, you don't have to worry, because you can always draw another one. And right now, as you can tell, I'm just kind of following along the circle. I'm not sticking 100% to it. And then I'm gonna see how it fits. So I want a little bit of that yellow to show. If you want more, then you just cut down your circle a little bit smaller. There you go. Now remember that I drew the circle on the green with pencil? Well, I did it on one side, and when I cut it out, I'm gonna put the glue on the side that has pencil markings. And when I press it down over the yellow, since I glued on the same side with the side as the markings, you won't see them anymore. So let's go back to our piece of paper that I'm using to help me apply the glue. And I'm gonna add a generous amount of glue stick glue. And then I'm gonna stick this one over my yellow. Alright, so now I'm gonna make one more circle that's a little bit smaller. What color should I use? I think I'm gonna use pink. So one thing that could help you in cutting out your circles is use the last one as a guide. So I'm gonna put this over, and I'm gonna make a circle that's just a little bit smaller. There we go. And now I'm gonna cut that out. Be very careful with your scissors. You don't want to cut your fingers. And just go along and try to make it as best as you can. There we go. Now I'm gonna flip it over, remember? So I'm gonna put glue on the side that has pencil markings. let's get my sheet of paper that I'm gluing on. And I'm trying to go as close as I can to the edge and being generous with my glue so that it stays on the piece of paper. And now I'm gonna adjust it, and there we go. Those are concentric circles, circles within circles. And now I gotta finish the other 3. So I'm gonna start going through my construction paper and choosing different colors. So when I look at something like this, it makes me think of a Bible verse. Do you all have your Bibles? Go get your Bibles or ask for your parents to look up this verse. The verse is found in 1 Corinthians 12. And the whole chapter talks about the gifts that we all have. You see, just like these circles, each one of us is unique. And let's say I was this one. I have different colored gifts. Some of those gifts are gifts of discernment. Some of them are healing. Some of us were called to be apostles. Some of us have the gift of faith, or some of us have the gift to help. You know, when somebody needs help, some of you guys always like to jump in and help. Well, that's a gift that God gave you. Some of you are very good at teaching. I enjoy teaching, and I believe that's a gift God gave me. So in 1 Corinthians 12, the Bible talks about the gifts that we all have. And I believe that every one of you, like every one of these rectangles, is unique and beautiful, a beautiful creation by God. And when we all together work along happily and nicely with each other, we get to do some beautiful things, not only for our church, but also for our community. So I hope you are ready to get your art materials and create a piece just like this one. Again, the artist was Concentric. He was an abstract painter, and he focused on shapes and colors for his work. All right, let's